Hi, Sam.
Hi, how was everyone?
Good.
Actually quiet. We're officially on section.
Let's see, and
Okay, that's it.
that shuts it. All right, you are live now, the silence.
Thank you.
And down here. It's changed, like, the agreement and someone's trying to get on Zoom.
Oh, okay, so
Also.
the other Sam had it. So I will pay
Just pay attention to this one, I mean, if it changes to a different, but someone's trying to get in.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
So Janice, you should know Justin, right? This is Janice's
I see
assistant.
that's the one, I just.
Nice to meet you, Jana.
So we'll be talking.
Oh,
I should give you the one I'm scribbling on, so you have it.
thank you.
So, let's see, what else did I miss on here? Well, you could fill it. Thanks. I'm gonna wait just a minute or two.
To start, are we watching?
We're live,
Okay, okay.
but I'm gonna wait just a minute because I know others are
Yeah.
coming and we're only 12:31, so.
Yeah, you were gone for a couple days too, Brian.
I was down in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
We ended up, we were gonna stay for like 4 days. We ended up staying for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
There was a lot going on with the kids. So I'm from Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
Moved up here full time like 5 years ago. So my family's in Foxborough.
Got it.
We migrate back and forth to visit our families.
Sure.
So. Hi, family.
Oh, right. Right. I don't see the other Sam on yet, but she'll be joining us shortly, so. Since it's officially 12:32, I'd like to call the meeting to order for March 6th. Let me just say 7, Russian, thanks. The March 6th, Camden Conservation Commission meeting. Sorry for the delay in getting the agenda and meeting minutes to you. I don't know, the week got away from me last week, but that's how it goes when you get back on vacation. So did everybody have the opportunity to review the minutes from the previous meeting? Okay, were there any questions or concerns, any edits that need to be made? Okay.
Samantha just said she'll be 15 minutes late.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, seeing none. Does anyone make a motion to approve the
I make a
pre-read
motion to
minutes?
approve the minutes.
All in favor? Okay. Motion carries. So we have a couple of new faces here, so I think this is a good opportunity to say who we are first as we kind of go around. So my name is Rebecca Jacobs, and I am the chair for the Camden Conservation Commission. I live up on Mountain Street, and my other work is as the program manager for the Knox Lincoln Soil Water Conservation District, and I also have a small design build garden business seasonally. So my background is in design and planning from UMass Amherst. So just
I'm Brian Lightbody. I live on Elton Street. I'm retired and I have a science background. I'm on the Stewardship Education Alliance as well. I'm speaking next week in this room on 13th on solar, my experiences with solar.
Oh,
So,
great, you're gonna be, oh, that'd be good.
yep, I have a presentation.
Nice.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to
on
it.
the 13th.
Yes, at 6:30.
Great.
Yep, I'll be present. Yep.
Here, and apparently there's no more. Walking is healthy, it's good. We're just doing introductions because we have a series of new faces here, so, not to put you on the spot, but since you're in that spot in the circle, we're going this way.
Super. Hi. So I'm Molly and this is Jasmine. And we just hopped in at the last meeting to drop an idea on everyone about sort of promoting some tree love in the community because we've been touching a lot of trees come down along our street up and down. So we're the ones who, I don't know, was everyone here on that email with our packet?
Yeah.
So we're here, I think we're on the agenda to accept people's opinions and suggestions and all of that.
Yep. You'll get a copy of the trifold after. Yeah, go ahead.
Steve Bondell, I'm a retired park ranger. I was at Camden Hills for 27 years. Lived just up the street here on Washington Street.
Oh,
I'm here to observe.
I'm Dee Parker. I live at Washington Street too. And I've been doing conservation type projects along with other stuff for a long time. And I'm just a guest here, you know. Guess that's all.
That was a pretty short introduction.
I know.
Yeah.
Your institution in the town.
It's a way of saying you all know who I am.
I'll say more.
I'm a tree pusher.
Tree pusher.
Tree pusher.
Very home.
She's a fellow tree advocate.
I'm Pamela Gleason and I live on Harrison Avenue here in town. And like Rebecca, I have an environmental design degree from the University of Massachusetts and have way back and have had a career in basically landscape design, environmental landscape design and conservation planning for many years.
Hi, I'm Sam Sharp. I do not have a design background or a green thumb at all, but I do care. And I work for the Bloomberg Center for Public Innovation and just sort of have a general interest in civic life. And so I'm here to do what I can where I can. And I live in town, obviously.
Bart Oland, I live in Hardin as well as Bethany, and I'm also graduated from Mass, but I was a history major. But I'm a master gardener and I just care about the environment and what's happening in the town and the future of it, so that's why I'm involved. And I'm the secretary.
Thank goodness.
I'm Justin Gove. I am the new town engineer as of Monday this week, just started. I'm from Camden. My wife's from Camden, Megan Bedford. Her parents live, my in-laws live on Rawson Avenue. My parents live on Start Road. Graduated class of 99.
You live on.
I live at my parents' house right now until I close on a place of our own. I am coming from the city of South Portland. I was previously the city engineer there, supporting their water resource protection, which is their wastewater division and the public works division. My educational background is in environmental engineering, so I have some experience in hazardous waste remediation, and then kind of a transition to more civil engineering and wastewater engineering over time. My wife and I have been trying to get back to Camden for some time, and this was an opportunity and we jumped on it. I have two children, one who will be going into 5th grade this coming school year and one who will be starting kindergarten. They're wrapping up my daughter, 4th grader, is wrapping up 4th grade in South Portland, and they'll be following that period as soon as she's done with school.
What is your role gonna be with the town? Do you have a
You know,
description?
it's a broad description. You know, I will be supporting Public Works and the wastewater group. So similar to what I was doing in South Portland, I've got a lot of experience with management of larger capital improvement projects. So I imagine I'll be interfacing there. It is a new position for the town, so there's a lot of opportunity to make it into whatever it needs to be. So I'll be coming in with somewhat of a broad skill set and doing whatever I can and whatever needs to be done.
Nice, great.
Sorry, I can't give you more specifics than that.
Well, I mean, it's really, what's next coming up, right? I mean, Justin and I will be like involved probably in all of these things, and I couldn't have asked for a better person that would fit into this role. He's like almost perfect. He is perfect.
I'm really excited to
I
be,
mean,
to address some of the SSO, the sanitary sewer overflow issues. I have a lot of background in South Portland. It's combined sewer overflow because it's still a combined system where stormwater and sanitary waste share the same pipe. Camden, it's not the same exact, well, it's the same problem, but it's a little different source. So it's an SSO. I don't know how familiar you folks are with that, but I imagine that'll be a significant effort for me on here.
Great.
yeah, and I mean, anything from trails to, you know, everything that we do, he's gonna be working on all kinds of different things, not just working probably with, public works or wastewater, but they kind of blend in together a lot of times, it seems like.
Sanitary sewer overflow.
Okay, couldn't hear me.
Yeah.
So my name's Dave St. Laurent, Camden, Public Works Director and Wastewater Treatment Facility, tree warden, dam control agent. That's why Justin's here, because of all those other things, you know, so I need help. But he's gonna be, basically my right-hand person, helping me with all these things, and he's got all of the skill set and more than I have, so I'm really looking forward to having somebody like that to work with me and help. Because we have more and more things that we're taking on under our umbrella. So I have an environmental degree, I have a background, I have a finance background. I've been in water resources my whole life. I've worked at a bottling plant for fish and wildlife. I've worked for, run transfer stations, I've run public works departments and wastewater treatment facilities. So that's kind of the background. And I'm a carpenter and,
Good old
yeah,
jack of all trades.
you have to kind of build off of that stuff. I'm just a little older than Justin, but pretty soon he'll have all of these same things.
Hope to.
But, yeah, and I like what I do and I like working with you folks and I'm looking forward to helping you out this year again.
Well, great, thanks. Well, I appreciate making sure that with 4 new faces at the table, it's kind of important, I think, to make sure we all know who everybody is, so. So normally this would be the place we step in and ask Allison for an update in terms of select board actions and general town business. She had to go to a historic committee meeting that conflicted because it's at the same time, so we'll make sure that doesn't happen next month, but I'm gonna just skip whatever needs to be updated, she can do via email. That's just a general update. Make sure we read, obviously, the select board meeting minutes, and that will probably give us the updates we need. But she usually tries to give us.
Maybe something would fold into that is just to let everybody know it's budget season.
Oh, it is budget season.
And this is the time of year, like, I don't know if everybody heard me before, the secret recipe to getting something done in any municipality is to know when the budget cycle is.
Can you let Samantha in?
Oh, is she? Oh, she
here.
wasn't there the last time I
She
was,
was
sorry.
here.
All
So,
right.
so a lot of times what ends up happening is people want these wants, but it's already after the budget's been set in place, so you gotta wait a whole other year before you can get it kind of worked into the budget, and then by then you've forgotten about it, and then it kind of goes to the wayside, right? So really important things that you feel that, as a committee that you want to do this is the time to get them into the budget. To support the things that are already placed in the budget, because we have a lot of wants in the budget and, everybody's competing for the same pot of money, right? So it's important that you show up in support of items that you feel are important to your cause. And be present in the room. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to say, we really think this is a good program and we want the select board or the budget committee to make sure that they include this. Because just like that, it can go away. So I figured I'd share that.
So go to budget meetings.
Well, it's good to have somebody like we were talking about tree support, I think. Like I have a budget that's in there for planting trees again this year, and someone could say, well, you planted enough trees past 2 years, we don't need to put any more money into trees.
Maybe we need a signal to get someone there.
Right, what I was gonna say is I can send out the schedule, And then you can see where Public Works' budget falls in, and then, you know, we have a line, and I can tell you where the line is has items. I don't know if we've really asked much more than that this year. You know, the big thing is the tree line budget, and some of the smaller things I kind of fit in here and there, but that's really the one that, if you guys want to continue with that program, that's one that it's good to have somebody, from the Conservation Commission or a member of the public to show up and say, this is something we feel is important. And we don't want to lose this money, this funding for this program.
Dave, did the signs that we designed last year and everything get,
I was looking at that. I have found the old drawing for the signs, and I was gonna order those this week,
okay,
but, I don't have the email, or if somebody has an easier access to the email where we said we were gonna put them all, that would.
I do.
I thought you had sent it to me, but I couldn't find it.
I'll find something.
So that would be great, because then I can start, you know, popping those in real shortly here.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
I don't want to dismiss Samantha. Do you want to say hi? We have two returning and two new people at the table this month, so I thought it would just be nice to just say hello and.
Thank you. Hi, and nice to meet you. And I did hear the introductions. I was listening on YouTube until I could get into the Zoom. So I love that you guys are here. Thank you. And my name's Samantha Mortlock. I live on Dillingham Point, and I'm just passionate about conservation and environmental issues and contributing in whatever way I can. I have a 5th and 7th grader at the middle school, and I care deeply about where things are headed for them and all of their peers. So I'm glad to be here and glad you're here. Thank you.
So I'm gonna turn the table right back on you, Dave, because it's so Public Works. So is that your biggest update in terms of Public Works, or is there anything in, well?
I mean, other than, I think we planted 46 or 7 trees last year with a goal of 50. My budget's slightly less than it was the year before because I have a bank of trees that I had purchased last year when they overwintered, so. The objective is to try and shoot for the 50 again this year. You know, every time I shoot for 50, it gets harder. Cause seems like there's less easy spots.
You can't cherry pick,
I know.
so to speak.
If we got out and solicited more and got them into the.
Keep on using that app, you know, keep on putting things in the app, and that just makes.
You want people, how many trees do you want more in the app?
The more places you can find,
And then, yeah, because there's problems with each.
right, cause like sometimes it's an underwire tree, or sometimes it's a big shade tree location, or.
There's pipes that we don't know
Or
about.
there's something there, or the homeowner says absolutely
And I
not.
know, I got really discouraged. I thought of asking the climate people we've got signed up in our mailing list,
Uh-huh,
if maybe I could get, because I found during COVID, people didn't really want to knock on doors, or they just didn't feel like it anymore. But I thought maybe some of the climate people I might get more active volunteers if you need if you need the names.
like I said, fill that app up, cause that just reinforces the need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So Pamela and Brian and I went out 2.5 weeks ago, whatever.
Yep.
And did. What streets did we do?
Union?
We did Belmont and Union
Up to the arch.
yeah, up to the arch, and then all of Belmont.
Potential tree locations.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so
But you didn't knock on doors, so you don't know what they think.
no, but that's okay, but now we've identified which numbers, so we could then we can pull up
Okay.
the names and numbers and.
Do you have a backlog of trees to be planted?
Well, if we look at the app, right?
Yeah,
So if we look at the app, you can tell, okay, here's a potential location.
Yeah.
And when it gets the circle around it, that means you guys have contacted the homeowner. And then when I turn it into a star, I think, or a block, there's been a tree planted.
right,
So if you just look at the app,
right.
you'll always know, like, sometimes, like, if you look at the app and you see the potential locations, that's a cue that you folks probably should, like, try to reach out to the homeowner, talk to them, put in the notes, talk to Mary at, 16, Start Road, and she wants a tree and she's okayed it, and she wants an underwire tree, or she wants a large shade tree. And then what I do is then like during the course of the day, or week, I take opportunities where I have somebody that's free. And I say, all right, go plant a tree, take the app and go look on it and see what we have in inventory and go pick out one of the locations and plant it there. So it has to be one that has the circle on it and everything's been, you guys have already checked
Okay.
into it. So you guys are helping me be more efficient with trying to, because I can't send somebody on the crew to go out and knock on a door and go, hey, can I plant a tree here?
Yeah,
Because it
right.
just doesn't work that well, you know, it's always better if all that part's already done.
When will
And
you
they just
get
have to plant a
started?
tree. Huh?
When will you get started again?
You know, not gonna be long.
Just say it's gonna be early April this
Yeah,
year.
not gonna be long.
Yeah.
So what I'm excited about actually is seeing all those ones along Route 1 by Hannaford.
I was thinking the same
It's
thing.
really nice.
That's gonna look pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
And then
really nice.
you get another year or two and then they get a little bigger and it's gonna be pretty cool.
And just a clarifying question or to update, refresh my memory, are we focusing our street tree planting efforts on the more urban areas, or are we working, because I can think of places and spaces, Mountain Street, like where I live, if we could get more trees and it would slow the traffic calming effect would come
Just-
into play.
And all of
but
that needs to be, all of that
um,
needs to be taken into consideration, and I don't think just because you're in the urban area, there should be the only place we plant trees, we should be making them available to everybody.
I mean,
because
because there's
every-
some open stretches of road.
It's really
on some
the
of these back
openness
roads
of
that are really hot, exposed, or there's some infiltration issues where if there was some extra trees a little closer to the road, you know, would just, every little bit would help in my view, but,
Right,
but I wasn't sure how.
well, think about why we're planting the trees, right? Because we're trying to kind of keep things from heating up.
Yep.
We're trying to, take care of stormwater issues, we're trying to traffic calm a little bit with some of
We
them,
don't
so.
have to stick to the,
No, anytime these places, these issues arise and there's potential for something to be improved by a street tree or a shade tree, we want, or an underwire tree, we'll call it.
Okay.
We want those on the
Would
list.
you oppose asking in the newspaper with very careful specifications that it be in town? And if we're looking to shade the street so that you don't get,
But who will they call when you do that, you know, I mean, then,
so it's not worth advertising because you get too many.
I think the way we're doing it's really working good
I
for
think we
me.
could do it at the, like, maybe just a little posted thing at the library, like a little informative thing at
Yeah.
the library, like just a little flyer. If you want,
Sure.
if we wanted to do a couple of reach outs, but
I think that we had thought about including that in the mailing packet.
Okay, well, that's not a bad idea, right? Oh, no, it's just like, where does all that, where does somebody funnel that to?
Right.
So if, I mean, I can have Kendall answer the phone and then put him in contact with somebody on the Conservation Commission to put it on the app.
yeah.
We could do that. We could talk about how we need to do that, but that's
It should
one
be,
option.
I think for what we've talked about in the past in terms of like the communication piece and like the role that the Conservation Commission plays is because we're like appointed and we're, you know, we come and go, we're not like an employee, like there's this. You know, like, I don't necessarily want to put like Rebecca at blah, blah, blah,
I know.
like, you know, because life happens and things move, or I don't want it after 3 years, I've had enough, or whatever, you know, and yeah, well, then, you know, you get these random calls or all these emails and like everything's been printed in piles of 500, 1,000, you're like, oh my gosh, you know.
I get
so-
calls about
So
doing
that's
things
why
in
I think
office.
sort of that generic,
I swear to God, I do.
Yeah. so you just sort of like, what's an easy number? And like you said, even if it was a pass-through scenario
Yeah.
where there was a landing spot with some administrator who
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I'm not
Well-
gonna get 700 calls about this. If I do, we got a whole other program to do, you know, but.
I have Kendall
Okay.
answering, you know, she's the office person now, manager, so to speak, coordinator, and
So we could just have a number.
Yeah,
Public Works.
talk to Kendall.
Okay,
Yeah,
that might be,
Kendall Espinoza, and she can create a list and then just maybe send it in an email to you.
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
something
I
like
think,
that.
I think over the course of time.
Brian, weren't you gonna be a contact person for that?
Yes, I'm looking at the app. And there's quite a few green circles with owner contacted.
So we have a good backlog of
Yeah, it's
locations.
probably like, I don't
You
know,
think there's 50 on?
20 on here?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna plant 50 trees, we're gonna need
What
50.
happens next? do you guys go contact, follow up with them, or
So the
how
way
does
it's
that
supposed,
all happen?
so. Let me take a peek at the,
I'm just, you could just,
yeah, so I just want to use the right.
Yeah,
So,
the
yeah,
line.
so initially we put a star out, right?
yep, that's the potential.
Potential, and then
Green circle is.
green circle means somebody's contacted the.
And they want a
the adjacent
tree.
And they want a tree, and they put details in there when you click it.
Yep,
Then when you see the check mark with the blue
Means
box,
it's done.
it's done, and there should be a picture of the tree in there.
right,
So, that's kind of how we've done it. So if you look throughout the town, so then there's also the yellow ones, which are the historic old,
specimen trees or the,
specimen trees and
Yeah.
forestry inventory that they did years ago, that we were gonna
yeah,
validate.
and we talked about that last meeting.
Yeah.
Going back out and surveying those.
Right,
to
because
make
some of them
sure-
could be gone,
Right,
because this was
Yep.
just an import
So
into
this
the
is-
program.
you know, right in line with
Those are all we're playing.
Molly and Kathleen, what you
Yeah, well, a lot of them.
talked about last meeting.
Well, you get, there's some out of the, I mean, there's less as you move away from the down.
Right.
Yeah. So, does that answer your question?
Yes. I think, so, but the specific question was, if the owner's been contacted,
There's a green circle.
or, you guys will follow up with them.
So if you click one of those icons with the
Yep.
green circle, there should be notes in there for us.
Yep,
And our people will click the one with the green circle and says, I want a red maple and I want it here. Then they'll go, and if they want more detail on it, they'll talk with the homeowner about exactly where. We'll do a dig safe, we'll plant the tree.
yep. The only reason I'm asking is I wanna make sure if there's something we need to be doing.
The only ones that, well, the ones that you really should be looking at are the ones that either if there's nothing there or there's just the star.
Right,
The star without the circle means somebody needs to follow up with the homeowner.
right, there's no, it's a potential,
We don't look at the potentials, we only look at the green circles.
right, as you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm just, yeah, all right.
I mean, I honestly think that this whole thing has really worked out well.
It's pretty impressive.
For us.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to change it too much because I don't really see anything wrong with it. Unless you can see something that could be more efficient or something, but for us, from a management for planting the trees, we don't need more information. We just need to know where does it go?
Yep.
And what goes there.
And then we're gonna, well, I don't wanna steal your thunder, but we're gonna talk more about the tree stuff later on in the meeting. Because that's front and center.
It's the freezes.
That's front and center. Now, one other question for you. Where are you with the watering?
Well, fortunately, last year, we didn't have to do a lot of watering.
I hope we have to do more this year. I'll tell you.
We're gonna just do what we did the year before and last year, we're gonna water them.
Yep.
When needed, and if it's a dry season, we'll water them 3 times a week, and we're gonna use the truck, and we're gonna.
Got it.
just
You
gonna
got,
do
the guys got the ball on that.
Yeah, we're not gonna, that's
Because the volunteer thing was.
it's just too squirrely.
Yeah.
We've got the truck with the tank on it, and we're just gonna.
Right.
And the employees with the insurance and
Too much
the.
Yeah.
liability.
We're trying to make it
Knows how to
volunteer,
drive
and
The equipment and,
it wasn't working.
Oh, awesome. Well, that sounds great. It sounds like you have about 20, you have a good number to get you started.
Yeah, we got enough to get
And
going.
then we can kind of keep
Yep.
going.
Right.
So we
Yep.
can try to, check in that we've added 5 or added,
I mean, I think this is all like one of the reasons why you guys are part of it, right? You wanna identify places in the town that have this need, right? And, why are things warming up? Why are things causing erosion problems? We want to plant trees in those locations potentially.
Are you doing plantings in like a spring and a fall slug, trying to get it in the optimum planting season?
That's what we're trying to do, but we plant them all year long, whenever we can.
Got it.
especially because they do have the water and equipment access and the staff to like loop through, like it's just add one more to the list. of
Just-
the
just-
rotation.
For the record, I mean, not everything sprouted out this year, but we had 1 tree die so far.
That's pretty,
You know what I mean? And we planted 75 the year before, and then.
Yeah, that was a big number, yeah.
We planted, 46 last year, so on all those trees, we might have had 2 trees, and they didn't die, someone hit them.
Oh.
Broke one off, and
Oh.
I don't think I've had a tree die yet.
There was one that looked at it, it looked like it went on the street and it came back.
You get really lucky.
Yeah, great. Well, that's exciting, especially since it's starting to feel and look springy out there a little bit. Mud season is upon us, I think, so. So this is a perfect time, it's also on the agenda, but to segue to the tri-fold brochure, which I'm sorry I don't have copies of, but I can email them to you. And once I get your email.
I've got like a little copy kind of, it's double paper because it's not double-sided, but it would be one piece of paper. Brought a copy of two of the versions. What's missing here? Welcome to Camden. But the inside and the back will mostly be the same. And then this is the little extra insert that we proposed. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, you can take it and you can pass it around. We got a few emails of feedback. Thank you so much. But we would love to hear what else people are feeling about it. Do you like the general vibe? Do you think it's a terrible idea? Dave, are you comfortable with your bio section?
Did you know you were gonna be asked this?
I didn't. You know, people keep worrying about that sometimes, like, I don't want a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you?
It's kind of too late for me now, because it's plastered everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
She used to see it in person.
I don't know, I honestly didn't read it,
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't read.
Okay.
No, you can.
Take a look.
Yeah. Did you, where did you come up with the bio?
Made it up.
Oh.
It's
Very flattering.
generous term. It's just a teeny tiny blur.
Okay.
Because, you know, this is a
How did you know?
minimalist packet.
I guess you could have pulled it off the
The
internet.
packet is really a vibe, more than anything else. These are also some printouts, just run back, not pull it up as we imagined, but,
On the side.
Right.
if people haven't looked at them, they want. So you didn't get the email.
I thought it's just- I think it's not-
Edie got the email.
I can't get it.
And every.
Oh, good for you.
I do not use computers.
Oh, all right.
I'm a rebel.
I like it.
I appreciate that.
That
I don't
feels
think
like
it
a
functioned like that, but I appreciate that.
That's the scan the code.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, from my perspective, I think it dovetails really well with the existing street tree planting program and the Conservation Commission's mission and efforts that are being made, but and the only thing I would is just to make sure that the content's right, that's, you know, particularly.
Yeah, we have to pick that up. Photo.
Let's go on the webpage. Before I. I know.
Make your own headshot.
I've got one for you that I like a little better. That's when I was in Rockland.
And fill in the blanks on.
The list of the trees available, because my wife and I had to put in, we had to pick one we didn't really want, because there was not any kind of tree like we wanted in our area.
Oh, okay, so there's not, in this packet, not a list of the trees available. The packet is more generally geared toward getting people to just think about the value of trees in the community and the different things that trees do for us, and maybe a list
Does it
of.
have to be a shade tree?
No,
Well, it's, yeah,
So that's just like one little part of the packet.
So you have a list of the trees, right?
I do,
Yeah.
from last year.
Yeah.
I know why you want it.
Yeah.
I'm aware why you want it. The front of our yard is the only place where we have sun, and we like gardens.
Yeah,
And we got a shad blow, and it's under a wire, it's under the wire.
that'd be an underwire tree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we live right across from the Knox Bowling Mill, and we would like to screen that, right, you know, as high as we can without getting up into the wire.
So we would be limited by the wires, so we would put a winter hawthorn.
So we were thinking more of a multi-stemmed, shorter, under the wire.
We don't plant ornamentals, so that would be one thing we don't do, just so you know, we don't plant non-indigenous, we plant more native species, so we stick with an underwire tree, we have a selection of like an ironwood, a hawthorn,
Yeah.
a shadblow, red bud would be another one.
We got a shad.
Yeah, that would be,
Hawthorns
that,
do great hedging.
yeah,
They can do it. I mean, you could hedge a hawthorn
the,
readily, really. There's a few
How
others.
close do
The
you
staff
plant
would-
it to a curb?
well, they have to be so that when they're growing, they're not gonna be in the road. We usually put them in the right of way. They have to be in the right of way, because if they end up in your property, we can't plant on your property. They have to be owned by the towns and in the towns right away.
I asked about this fire from the curb. Yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, it depends on the location. I have to look at each one of them usually and determine where it goes.
Yeah, it's the right of way, Gary's.
Yeah.
The other thing
So
is
sorry,
that,
I don't know if I think I might have lost the thread. Are we talking about the trifold brochure right now?
We are, yes,
We're trying
yep.
Okay, because I wanted also to comment about it. I think it's so fantastic. You guys did such an amazing.
I think it did a
job.
great
Thank you
job.
for putting that together. And I personally, I reacted to I reacted most positively to the idea of maybe having just one version, only just to simplify things, because I know a lot of the times when we have ideas for the town and you should do this grant and we should do this and a lot of the work ends up falling on the town. It has to, because we don't have the addresses. We can't personally, I mean, maybe we could do a volunteer effort to do the mailing. So to me, it made most sense to have something that's universally applicable, mail it to everybody one time, and then start mailing to new residents with maybe an insert like you've designed. I think it's such a cool idea, and I think it's really well executed. So thank you for doing that. The other feedback I would have about it is maybe there would be a way, and obviously we would want to confirm with the garden club, they'd be okay with this, but there could be a line in there, maybe in the contacts and resources, that mentions that, do you want to plant a shade tree? The Camden Garden Club has a program for that, and then the Camden town has a program for street trees or whatever. Or maybe we only mention the street tree thing, but just letting in like contact and then just give a number, right? So we don't have to go into a lot of detail about it, but just mentioning that there is a street tree planting program, and perhaps mentioning the garden clubs thing, but maybe not. I don't know.
Okay.
So,
Samantha, the garden club's tree program has been canceled.
Okay, noted. So just don't.
Okay.
It was a very small part of the program.
Yeah,
And
and it was supported by the town, and it was like better to just do everything the way David's been doing.
Yeah,
And they didn't have the funds to do it themselves.
so maybe something in there that basically says, contact, Public Works
Department
at
at.
this number, if you're interested in planting a shade tree. I
Along
like the
street,
idea.
Yeah, in the public right of way or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, and it
Right.
should make note that it is within, this is for public right of way.
Yes.
Only, this isn't for your back.
Yes.
yard.
Right, we don't put it anywhere in your yard. It has to be within the right of way.
People will ask for all sorts
I'm
of shit.
sure.
Right. A lot of them want the little, like, the little hydrangea tree,
Oh, gosh.
that's what they want. Everybody wants one of those. and
Right.
It doesn't get high and they're like, we don't do,
Yeah.
that's not what we
we're
do.
not landscapers.
No.
right,
So I agree with Samantha with doing one copy and one version. I mean, I get the reasoning behind multiple versions, but I think the content is basically the same, and that's where that little insert or a letter for the company and be folded into a trifold if you want to add a little text or something. Because I think the messaging is, it meets the need.
Nice
Yeah,
job.
that's
I mean, to
cool.
just go out and do that, boom, like that was great. Thank you.
see, Molly did the majority.
You're hired, Molly.
What do you need, what kind of help do you need to finish it? Because I'd volunteer to do whatever I could do to help out with this. I mean,
Thank you.
I really like to respect your elders. I think that.
My son.
That's so creative.
We had a couple of other titles. One of mine was Stop, Don't Shop. Everybody said I was way too. over the
It's a little
top.
bit much.
Oh, I like that.
Stop, don't
I
shop.
actually like that. That has a place somewhere.
And, and then we came up, we tried to kind of tone it down a bit, quite a bit. And we did come up with, that's one of the things we wanted to ask you about the title. So the trees are calling, it's from the
Right.
Mary Oliver poem, which
Yeah,
is
so-
more kind of calmer and smoother, I think, in a way, or the respect your altars. But I think,
Did you see?
Beatty had a good point, that, you know, altars are kind of shrubs, right? Or
In
trees.
Maine, they can be trees and
Yeah.
other.
Right, so you don't want people planting altars.
But I
Very
don't think
important.
anybody really would notice.
I don't think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
I agree.
an old Mainer would say, wait a minute, alders, that's awful controversial.
Right.
You know, we carved that.
It's still catchy though. I like it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
but
it's a
we
joke.
should,
Yeah.
well, when we come down to it, well, maybe we should send out a version that people can vote on certain things. I don't, or should we just go there?
Just go.
Be careful, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Although we do need some input about, one, the link to the website that you guys are working on, Stan, and.
Right, yeah, and
So
I can
that-
send you some links about the tree diseases and stuff like that just a minute ago.
Right, that'd be great.
But the only thing I was gonna add is, since it's top on a lot of people's mind right now, in town, and they get all these calls, is maybe to highlight or just pull the part about how trees absorb water.
Yes.
Right.
And, you know, help reduce flooding in your yard and blah, blah, blah.
Alders.
I mean, it's just, everyone's talking about that.
Alders,
We need
they
alders.
fix the nitrogen in the soil too.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
maybe we should stick with
people's
that.
backyard.
Yeah.
Alders.
That is in, I think that is highlighted a little bit in the.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah, I
it.
think so too.
Section.
Yeah.
We got the
People
tree, we
don't
got
realize.
the
I like
canopy thing with the,
Right.
which is really great.
I thought it was great, yeah.
Thank you. So if we're gonna go with just one version, what would people like the cover to say? It can't really be welcome to Camden if we're just doing one version, because that doesn't make sense for folks who live here already. So if we're trying to get it out, I can't say Happy Arbor Day, if we're gonna be mailing it throughout the year.
Right.
So.
But it should highlight that we have an Arbor Day.
You
Yeah.
want to stay
I'll need to-
clean and dry.
Because the date changes, we
Yes.
just say, you know, part of Street Tree USA or,
Yeah.
that, you know, we,
Have it.
Camden has its, you know, recognizes National Arbor Day annually or some
It's usually in
variation on
April,
that.
isn't it normally in April, Samantha?
Yeah.
Don't want to say that, okay. In the spring?
First week in May.
It's gonna be in April, right?
Oh, it's just in the spring.
Yeah, end of April.
Actually,
Okay.
we'd like to try and get this done for Arbor Day, if that's possible.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, no, this,
Yeah.
yeah,
and
definitely.
actually, this can go in the actual report, I think, too.
Okay.
Yep, we can put it in the
Tracy.
report. We can include it
Yeah.
as an attachment. We can, maybe also include it in our news release that we do. So the papers we send it to has that. Maybe they'll put it up, maybe they won't.
You said Camden wants to stay cool and dry.
I like the trees are calm.
Yeah, I like
I
that
like
too.
that one. Keep
So,
Camden cool.
I could see-
Camden is-
I could,
That was you that you.
you know, copies in the library, copies in the town hall.
Right, yeah,
hall.
absolutely.
We could, you know,
Put it on the website as
yeah,
a,
put it on a website. I mean, I'm part of the Stewardship Education Alliance, and we have a kiosk down at the harbor with an aquarium and everything. I see copies there. You know, I mean, it could be all over the place, and at the Chamber of Commerce, you know.
Yeah.
But I'd like to volunteer to help if there's something I can do to,
Definitely.
like, write whatever you wanna.
Maybe when we get closer.
You just
to-
delegate.
to
Okay.
putting it
I work
together.
well if you just tell me what to do.
Okay.
He does, I can attest to that.
Well, the most important, I think, is to have that, if we can put the link to the Conservation Committee website. That'd be good. Don't you think that would be good?
We're
to have
getting an
it?
update on that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the link won't change,
Yeah, the link
but,
won't
but it is getting it will be,
When will its facelift be done, do you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe not before the.
Not before the hack.
But it's okay to put it on there.
Well, there's good information
Yeah.
there.
Because that's the one thing, it's Dave and that are sort of the points of information people want.
Yeah, and if people want to know what Arbor Day events are planned this year.
Well, that is a great segue.
Yeah, we do need to talk about Arbor Day because it's next month. And so we would want to do some of our planning. And I think now I can't remember. I think the date we had plugged in was April 29th. It's Friday. What's
April
that?
26th.
26th? Thank you.
Yeah.
But really, so one of the things is I have to complete our Tree City application. David,
And
I need like
I
I
need
need
to
like
give you some
5 points of
yeah.
information from you.
Yeah.
an assigned version of last year's proclamation. Do you have the email with the list of things that I needed? Maybe I should write it out rather than attach a picture like I did.
It's okay, if you've given it to me, I'll make it a priority to get that
Okay,
done.
great, because I'll get our application in to make sure that we're recognized again as Tree City. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get around to applying for the growth award stuff, because you and I would have to meet. I mean, I think we could probably qualify for it, but I just don't know I don't know whether that's worth prioritizing your time. Like, as long as we renew Tree City, that's, I think, critical on a yearly basis. Growth award would be nice.
Why don't we see what we can get done, and I mean, I have all the growth award stuff done from last year, and I think it's just a matter of tweaking the numbers.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
okay,
I mean, I put that together for Nancy, I think, last year.
okay,
So I kind of have some stuff already kind of, you know, I think I used an Excel spreadsheet and I came up with hours and costs and locations and numbers and
okay,
man, you know, hours of work and
Great.
I think it's just a matter of massaging that a little bit, and I think that I could give you that pretty quick.
okay, perfect. Well, if we could tackle there's like a one pager that I had attached that
Yep.
has like 5 red things that I need the info for. If it's
All right.
possible to tackle that, and then I can use that to see what else we would need to do the growth awards, because it'd be
Okay.
cool to, include it in our press release or whatever. And then for the actual planning of Arbor Day itself, I'm no event planner. So, I mean, I hope I can show up, but I don't know. I think that was typically we just plant a tree somewhere and invite some people, I don't know that I was taking that on. So I'm not sure about the actual event.
So what, I think I've done it 2 years in a row now, and what we do is we kind of publicize when we're gonna do it, where we're gonna do it. I think I got a few refreshments that I'll buy. I put a table out. I have one of the flags that says Tree City USA, and I think we draped it over the table, and then we plant a tree in a specific location, and the select board usually invites everybody to it. And it's really, that's all it is. So maybe one of the things that we could do is think about this ahead of time, is like, where do you want to do that?
Might want to use.
We did it on Pearl Street last year.
Yeah, because it was the end-ish of the construction project,
Right.
and so it's like kind of.
It's like
Right.
relevant to the brochure.
Is there a?
And then we did it on Park Street by the bank.
Planted one on Free Street, right?
Ooh,
That's the-
beach.
The Free Street.
That was the Free Street tree, right?
Right.
Dave, we were thinking of doing a tree on that little park at Public Landing, the one that's up behind the Luton and Fern.
The one that we relocated.
No, in that place where we talked about taking off. I
Could
don't
be the
know if it'll be
bathroom,
done. It won't be done in time for people, so that's probably not a good idea.
How about this? You guys, the world is your oyster here. You guys tell me where you guys want to have a party to plant a tree, and I'll do it. I am open to whatever you guys want to do. It's really, this is the fun part of what you can decide, right?
Well,
What do you
somebody
want to
just,
do?
I heard somebody throw out Lake Beach. Is that an option to plant
I
something
did,
there,
yeah.
or?
Well, we planted the 2 oak trees
Well, that
there.
needs a whole lot more plants, but let's.
I don't, whatever you guys want to do. I'm here to help you guys out.
Can I see a picture, Brian?
They trying to ask me to pick a color. Yeah.
So are we gonna stick with
Some
Friday the
kind of
26th?
award
Free Street, right near you, right?
For people like,
Oh, is that right?
a tree gets an award, or like a heritage tree gets an award, and a person in Camden that's done something to stop the chop. A tree activist, like a tree keeper hall of fame that we could have on an
Man, you
annual
guys
basis.
are coming up with some pretty wild
Yes.
ideas here. I mean, you've been thinking about this, haven't you? I like it.
Nancy does, been doing stuff on her own for years.
Oh, yeah, she really has. Yeah.
You'd be, and
I get-
let's start, every year we would have like a something for a
The
person.
Tree Saver Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Okay.
We would have them in like the town hall, so that it just promotes like, these are cool people that are doing this stuff in the town. And just,
And then have a little picture of them or something.
yeah, with by a tree, and then have it for a tree perhaps too, so you have a tree and a person.
Sure, I love the idea. You guys figure it out.
Okay.
So
Love it.
sorry, just to confirm, are we sticking with Friday, the 26th as
Yeah,
Arbor
I think
Day
the date is fine,
celebration?
absolutely, yes.
What's that?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
Arbor Day,
I have a
26th, we're just gonna figure out
Question.
additional details like tree species, location, time, all the minor
So who's
details.
gonna figure that out? We're gonna do that?
We will, yes.
Yeah, all right.
I'm very confused because the internet told me that Arbor Week in Maine was was the third full week in May. So
So
unconfuse me, someone.
Let me see what I
I'm
can
not
do.
sure I can fully unconfuse you, but, to be a Tree City USA member, it's Samantha, please.
You know we're Tree
Point in
City.
time, but
Right.
Tree City,
Oh,
Tree
yes.
City USA, it's required, yes, part of, Maine Forest Service runs, it's kind of run through or part of the program, Project Canopy, et cetera. So you're required sometime between April and June, like there's kind of a spring window, if you will, to have your town acknowledge an Arbor Day and plant it. Then there's like the National Arbor Day or National Arbor Week or whatever. They
Yeah.
have like kind of events going on. It does not always line up with what towns and other
Okay.
entities.
right.
you know,
So the
can
Arbor
do.
Day Foundation, which is the administrator of the Tree City program and recognizes cities all over the nation, states celebrating National Arbor Day every year on the last Friday of April, right? So that's their that's National Arbor Day. But we could celebrate it anytime. It's just that we do have to do some sort of thing on a specific day in that general time range. And so why not just do it on actual National Arbor Day?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
It looks like we did it on March 26th last year. Right on your calendar, so that's what I have in the calendar.
Sure, was it May?
Yeah, this was
Yeah,
May
April?
20th, this picture.
That's May 20th. I have March 26th.
gun,
Arbor
right?
Day is this. I don't know why that's there. So, yeah, so you have May?
May 20th.
Yeah, he
I
was
think it's
there.
later. I think it was May.
Yeah.
Witness
Huh, okay.
with Nancy Johnson.
Can't believe
Right,
everything
right.
on your Outlook, right?
May 20, yep.
May 20th,
Saturday.
I'm gonna go with you guys, because
Okay, I think what I need to do then is send a little,
May
a
16th.
follow-up email with,
Me too.
the committee and the people over here that says who wants to be involved in putting together some of the details. Not every single one of us here necessarily needs to be weigh in or have an opinion, obviously. Maybe 2 or 3 of us, 3 or 4 of us, can
And did we
finalize the details for that particular event.
so did we decide on Lake Beach or we'll decide?
I think we will decide. I think it is
There are no
being
street sign
required.
shading, road shading trees at Lake Beach.
It used to be,
No.
then, right before they became the tree warden. The old
And-
tree warden gave permission for someone to get one cut down.
David, on the proclamation, because that's another piece of our application. For one, I need the signed one from last year. I can to apply for it this year. I can only seem to find one that's not signed on the town meeting, like the town board meeting packet.
I mean, I
So
think let me look and see if I can find it. I'm imagining. I mean, I think Janice might have it up in the front office actually, because the select one signs it, right?
yes, exactly.
So it's been in the packet, so I'm sure I can find that way.
Okay. Do you want me to email to ask her so you don't have to, or is it?
Totally
easy?
up to you. I mean, I can walk over there after.
Okay,
and ask her if
great.
she has a
Super.
copy.
And
of
then
the
we'll
product.
obviously need to do one for this year. And so
Mhm.
how does that get to the select board at the right time?
I think that might have been what I have here on the March 26th. Maybe that was a proclamation.
Probably. Yeah.
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 And so what we probably should do is plan on trying to get that out before the end of the month to the select board and get on the agenda, saying when we're gonna do the celebration.
Yeah, I'm looking at the one from last year and all that we need to change is 2 dates, the date it would be
Exactly.
signed and the date of the Arbor Day
Yes.
celebration.
Yep. Yep.
So,
And then that checks
is that
that
something
box.
you have access to do? I don't have the document to be able to change it or draft it up. It's on some weird background that has like a border.
That was all done by hand with no computer and a typewriter, and it was kept on the lock and key and, never to have access to again, so, we're gonna have to reinvent that.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna have to retype it up. Is that gonna be hard or?
I'm sure you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Okay. I will work on, that's funny, I've had to do that with a lot of other things too. I'm like, how did this become a PDF?
Nancy did that. Nancy has that all kind of locked down.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
I will retype the text, and I don't know, perhaps is Janice able to like print it out on something nice looking?
Oh, yeah,
Proclamation-y?
we'll put it out on town letterhead and do whatever it needs. But I think we need to start creating a digital copy of this application process.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm doing that. None of this is on paper.
No, this was all done by
offline.
hand.
No,
Yeah.
this now it's
Yeah,
not gonna
before.
be.
No, yeah.
No, because people need to be able to update things and I already retyped the press release last year. I'm not retyping it again. I'm just gonna change dates and a couple names, you
That's
know.
what I do too, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't try to
yeah.
reinvent the wheel every year. It's hard.
All right. Okay, so it sounds like we're well along and we know what next steps
I
are.
think so, yeah, I think so. It sounds like we have your general approval. We'll do some finalizing, do some delegating. And, move back.
Super.
Yeah, the only other thing I have to add is that brochure with the heritage trees.
Oh, that's on here. Walking map, the trees of Camden.
Were you gonna do that next and I jumped in?
You and I are right in sync today.
I don't know if that's good. I think I don't wanna be too nudgy.
That doesn't matter. You keep going.
Well, yeah, okay, so,
It's dated and
yeah, but
hasn't been updated on the street trees.
I think this is really cool.
It's really good.
She
Yeah.
was intending to, that's only half what she wanted.
Who did the tours with all this? Wasn't did Nancy do that?
Yes, he
They
did.
self-guided tours or were they?
Yeah.
Yeah. there's
Yeah,
all-
so we could, I mean, we can go and check the location of these trees in the health area. I mean, I'd be happy to do that before, if somebody wants to join me. Pamela,
Sure.
I'll help you.
Barb, good.
We do it soon.
Can you look at the app while you do that, and see if those are in the app? No, I'm serious, because that forestry
I'm
inventory.
laughing because I think we want to put all the stuff in the app, including the ash trees.
But those should be in that, those should be the yellow circles.
We'll do it.
Some are on the street, they're in the center of the block, but they should be on any.
Exactly.
Do we have an extra one of these?
That's for you.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd say that. I don't want to steal it. from you.
All
I
right.
wanna-
I've got one for myself and
All right,
then more at the
I'll take
chamber.
we'll take good care of it. So we can coordinate some nice
Sure.
day. It doesn't
Sure.
necessarily have to be a Saturday, does it?
No,
Nope, not anymore, Bob, right?
No,
That's a good thing. Right, in the next couple of weeks.
this month, I'm gonna be leaving.
Okay, I'll take the ball on that and I'll be in touch with you guys.
that sounds great. That's exciting.
Good, okay.
So the next thing on the list, so I think we've talked about the
Keep
trees.
you posted.
Yeah, we got
in
12
every
trees.
direction.
Wow.
Up, down, all around. So the next thing, we just wanted to give a quick update. We had talked a couple months ago, I think it came up last year in general, but we talked to, like, we initiated the idea of Pamela and I, pro bono with our skill set, putting together a updated landscape plan for Lake Beach Park, and with the impetus of, with wearing our conservation hats as well as our professional hats, thinking that it's a little tired there from a landscape design perspective, and I think some of the piping is, I'm not actually sure from an engine, I'm not sure what purpose I know what they're supposed to do, but I don't know what they're actually doing these days.
That's the outfall for a lot of the collection systems.
Well, but anyways, we can look at it, but there's an opportunity there, and as in many ways to do best practices with rain gardens, with infiltration trenches, with permeable parking. We've already looked at it. We can actually add more parking, hey, we could actually add more parking there.
Having more parking.
Well, I'm just saying there's potential, like there's a potential to add more parking there and still, you know,
Lake Beach.
yeah, so we were just talking,
I don't know, we have to do run some numbers.
we have to run some numbers, but from a different design standpoint. So we've been working on a concept plan to bring to you guys, just as, because you can't ever go to Jeremy or go to a funder or grant without some sort of plan, you know, some sort of idea in place. And you don't have to have it super detailed, but the idea is that we would, you know, incorporate more buffer plantings and vegetated, you know, areas and green gardens and all kinds of, you know, best practices. And it's a great, because it's a park, you can do interpretive signage and explain what these things are and label the plants, and it would just be a kind of a win-win. There's tons of climate resiliency and coastal shoreline funding opportunities. So there's lots of different ways we could actually put this, you know, make this thing.
So what's your
Something
process?
like
What did
that.
you plan on doing? What was your process? How did you plan on? What was your first steps? What were you thinking? Doing a drawing of the?
Yeah, we've got a concept drawing underway. We're focusing on the sort of the upper portion. We're leaving the treacherous slope to the.
You're not gonna,
That's
before you
phase
said,
two.
I can do anything about that pathway?
No, I didn't say we wouldn't, I said that's phase two.
Turn into a skateboard park.
So, so are you staying for the whole meeting or do you?
I
want
don't
to
know,
just-
I realized you weren't here, so I figured I'd jump in and,
Oh, that's
if you
awesome.
needed me or wanted me or wanted me to talk about peers or whatever.
I do actually, you can circle right back around and let us know what's going on there. It's a good segue. We didn't have any more than to say that we said that we were gonna do it and we started the process and there's a lot of opportunity and we'll get a concept together and explanations and locations and some actual scale in place, and then we can talk to Jeremy and talk to, you know, whoever's important, and then see if or when it might be appropriate to take next steps and where. So that's all. We just thought there was a lot of opportunity there from a conservation perspective.
Yeah.
Stormwater improvement and climate resiliency, and so it'd be kind of a nice showcase in town.
That's very exciting, I have to say.
Well-
Here as this is.
Yeah, I think there's tons and tons of potential there, but we'll see. It'll be a process. So piers and other things.
Sure. Can the camera get me in case we're on, I guess they're.
Yeah, Sam, can you see Jeremy okay?
I can, hello.
Hi. The planning board held a public hearing on the new pier, amendments, last Thursday. And those are moving forward, those are having the select board having a hearing on March 19th on the pier amendments. I don't know if you know what those do. I could go into detail a little bit. I don't have it in front of me, but hopefully you guys read them or saw them. We have a moratorium currently on piers, residential piers. The harbor committee came up with recommendations, and then the planning board tried to move those forward to the select board. The select board tweaked them a little bit, and then we can continue to have these ongoing extensions of the moratorium. We have to, we can't continue that forever. So I drafted some amendments for piers. It's very robust. I don't think there's anything like it probably in the state. It'll make it much more thorough review and much more involved. We're gonna be looking at coastal sand dunes, unstable bluffs, significant wildlife habitat, eelgrass. All those things are now, part of the review process for piers, which never were before. An applicant will actually have to hire, not only will they hire their own engineers and wildlife biologists and all that, they'll have to pay for the town to hire a third party, engineers and third party consultants, wildlife biologists to review their stuff. And then there's also a big section on maintenance standards and construction standards, for new piers. They will require, annual inspections of the piers, by qualified individuals, and every 3 years, they'll require to hire an engineer to review their conditions of their existing piers, to make sure they're
don't fail, hopefully. And there's now a insurance requirement of holding $1 million worth of liability insurance on a pier. And well, I'm not sure I'm missing anything. Those maintenance standards will also apply to existing piers.
Yeah.
So someone that has an existing pier will have to do those maintenance standards and those inspections annually, and every third year we'll have to hire an engineer to do that. We're changing the height. I don't know if you remember, the height of the outer harbor was 6 feet was the maximum height, and then last November we went to a maximum height of 8 feet. Now we're proposing to go to a maximum height of 10 feet above mean high water. There was a lot of talk about whether we should change the datum that we're using to measure our sticking with the mean high water. I think that's appropriate. Pete Slavinsky talked about, I don't know if you've watched that video that Pete Slavinsky did, that was a great,
Very good.
it was great to have him in. And same with Angie from the state eelgrass program. He was recommending looking at using the flood elevation, the FEMA flood elevations. Challenge with that in the harbor is the FEMA flood elevations change from anywhere from 11 feet in the inner harbor to 19 feet in the outer harbor and coastal harbor. And then there's some other locations that are like 16 feet, 17 feet. So it was really a challenge trying to use that base flood elevation. Wasn't going to really work. So we stuck with the mean high water. That's pretty much it. I think that summarizes it pretty well. Planning board was very happy with it. There's a lot of case law on these things. So I looked at a case in Bar Harbor, Liano versus the state of Maine. Where DEP staff approved a proposed pier out in Bar Harbor Way. They appealed to the Board of Environmental Protection to take over a review of that, and then they ultimately won on those appellants. And so a pier was denied, even though the DEP staff approved it, it ultimately was denied by the Board of Environmental Protection. So I took that Liano case, and it was very, you can't prohibit piers, and the board planning board wanted to prohibit piers altogether. We don't have that ability to. There's a state law from 1890 something that allows people to have piers for war from boat. So I took that case law, that case, and kind of went through that and made sure everything was lining up because it went to the state law court. And I think it's a pretty tight regulation, as much as it might be. Some may think it's over the top or will prevent someone. I think there's rational approval criteria that we are using based on that case. So I think it's a good thing.
Bravo.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I will come out to the plan board hearing, or the select board hearing on March 19th, and just, if you're in favor of those proposed changes.
What's that on the 19th?
What's that?
What is that?
March 19th, yeah.
I mean, I hope this becomes a standard for other towns to refer to. I really love the work that you guys have done on this. Thank you for staying on it and pushing it and not letting it just sort of continue on as it was. Is this going to affect the piers that went away in the storm? What happens with those? Will the new rules apply to them for replacements?
If they come in for permits after town vote and if the voters approve it, then it applies to them. That said, like the significant wildlife habitat eelgrass provisions wouldn't apply to them because the construction and maintenance standards would apply to them because they're already existing piers or were. They were there. I will say I've had, I think, 5 of those piers that failed. Consultants have already reached out to me to try to get those permits moving. So right now they'll have to meet the standards that were in place in November, which means that they would have to go up to 8 feet max height and have the ability to construct with the ability to increase the height further should sea level rise continue to be an issue. Those would be the only standards that they'd be up against currently before June. So,
Yes.
yeah. I think that's it. If you're interested in the other hearings they had a bunch of hearings that night. Short-term rental was a big one. That's going to be before the select board in April 2nd. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to me. That's a big deal. I will say that from an environmental perspective, short-term rentals are a challenge, especially septic systems along the lake that might not be current, appropriate septic systems. State law now allows the plumbing inspector to make a determination on what the gallons per day for a septic system is for a short-term rental. They give the plumbing inspector the kind of carte blanche ability to determine what the what that standard will be. A lot of these septics, I don't know about a lot, but some of them could be just 55-gallon drums still into the ground. So we have the ability to dive into those a little bit more on the short-term rental regulations.
That's kind of interesting because, some of these places don't have water. They're on well. So,
Well, around lake water.
they're on lake water and part of the issue, part of it is, so if they're hooked into the system, the billing part of it, not everything falls into this category, but when we send out, Maine Water will send out a questionnaire to the homeowner and says, how many people live here, and that's the basis of determining if they're on a well, how much they pay for their wastewater, because we don't have a meter to count how much water that they're using, because they're on a well. So we have to use some matrix to determine what they should be charged. And if there's 2 people, it's this much, and if there's 4 people, it's this much, and so what do you use if it's a short-term rental?
Yeah, that's a good question for Maine Water.
Well, it's a good question for me, because I want to be able to bill them for what I'm supposed to.
I mean, I think it's odd to look at water based on number of people using, while the septics are designed based on bedrooms.
I agree 100%, but this is,
weird.
and I don't like the system that they're using.
Mhm.
I think it's real easy to say, yeah, there's only one person that lives here. You know
I
what I
think it should be
mean?
based on bedrooms.
I agree 100%, and I've been questioning it.
Is
Cause
that in code or is that just a?
Jeremy, I'm just getting into this right now, but I asked for cause one of my questions is, how do we know we're billing everybody that's on a well? That was my first question.
Yeah.
Cause I have no way of knowing how much water they're using.
Right.
And then I found this document that's mailed out to anybody who isn't on city water. And I looked at it and immediately I was like, well, it should be based on, the capacity of the property,
Right.
not how many people could be living there at one point in time.
Right. I mean, if there's a couple there and all of a sudden they have, 3 kids and then, 10 years later, there's 5 people living there. When do they notice the water company that they're actually going from 2 to 5? So can you bill us more, please?
Yeah, how do you know, and if they're not even the same people living there, if it's a
Right.
short-term rental and it's
Right.
changing all the time.
Well, let's look at that and just make sure.
I agree.
Change that, maybe make line up the number of bedrooms.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say we've run into a few times already on short-term rentals, because we register ones that are not someone's primary residence. There's a requirement currently to register those, and a number of those that have come in to the town have said, on their application for short-term renting, that they have 4 or 5 bedrooms. And then we review those. We don't do inspections of those properties, but we do review before we approve a short-term rental. We review property files and the septic plans and what assessing has. We run into a few of them where they said 5 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, and we look at the septic plan and see either for a 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom. So we've had to tell them we were not approving their short-term rental until they change their septic system. And we've had a couple have actually come in and changed their, expanded their systems already. So that's good. I mean, it's one thing we are addressing. We've also, and this is not conservation related, but where people say it's a 5-bedroom and where are your bedrooms? And we look and it's like 3 bedrooms or whatever, and they put a bedroom into the basement or put a bedroom into an office in the house. It doesn't have egress window either in the bedroom, in the office or in the basement. So we've had to tell people they can't use that basement bedroom or that office until they put in egress, and so we've had people actually have to put in egress windows, to the offices that they were using as bedrooms. So. Yeah, it's bigger than just housing availability, which is kind of one of the issues that the planning board has been talking about, in town. And there's certain realtors and certain people in town that are, saying we're only doing this because of housing affordability or availability issues. Well, it's much bigger than that. It's these environmental issues and life safety issues too, and equitable issues between other businesses that are having it licensed and meet certain codes too, like bed and breakfasts and inns and hotels and stuff like. Another thing maybe related, and I don't know if Dave brought this up to you, but this is related to septic, Mountainside Community Mobile Park. They have 52 units in there, low to moderate income, 52 mobile homes. Their septic system is on its very last leg. It probably was on its last leg 20 years ago. They don't have a leach field. They have a tank, and they pump it 3 times a day generally. Sometimes in weather events, they're pumping 4 times or 5 times even, I've seen. Then when I mean pumping it, Steve Beveridge from Beveridge Farm goes over and he drives, they have a tanker truck and they drive that, you might see that truck driving, and it's driving from Mountainside over the wastewater treatment plant. At least 3 times a day, hauling waste.
And it doesn't have long for this world either.
No. That tank is bad, so.
Engineering situation.
Oh, it is. Very-
I'm like,
very-
hi.
We're actually,
So, and that's where I was going,
yeah,
the park and myself and, CDI, which is, I forget the name, what that is an acronym for. We applied for congressional directed spending through Senator Collins and Representative Pingree for 1.3 million to do a sewer extension to that project coming up Molyneux Road. We, unfortunately, the 1.3 million was done before Dave and I were really involved in that project. And that's what they based that request on, and we had.
back in the 80s, that's what it would cost.
Well, it's even back in 2020.
I know, but
1.2, what is 1.3?
right,
We looked at it, Purgo looked at it, and Carrie Dayu, our kind of clerk of the works on some of our projects, looked at it. And they estimated it at 2.5 million.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a big difference. I had since applied for, last week I applied for community development block grant. $1 million, and that's an invite only, application, grant application. So word on the street is we are gonna get that additional 1 million. That's the max that I could ask for, so that's 2.3 out of what we're thinking is a 2.5 or $2.6 million project. Fingers crossed it's there. So we're short some, we're short 200,000. I'm hoping at least 200,000. I'm hoping we can find the money somewhere else, either through the park themselves or in some other way. But there's a public hearing tonight on that project. CDBG required a public hearing for the application process. So that's tonight at the select board level. So
what's nice about that too is, not only is there an issue at Mountainside, but a lot of we'll be able to pick up some of those lake cottages and stuff on bad septics and tie them into the system along the way to.
yeah.
You know, on the river.
If,
'cause you're
and if
gonna
this plays out, we
everybody.
probably have to tweak the,
Not everybody, but whoever we can get
Section.
gravity feed to this
Right.
one main line down Mullen Road.
You can always go up Mountain Street.
lot of rock up there, I'm not.
They call it Mountain Street.
Yeah, it's great.
Granite Street or Lead Street or something. We're gonna have to probably tweak the sewer code at some point, should this go through. Because we gotta make sure that we're also protecting people that recently put in septic systems along Molyneux Road. That we don't have to force them to do it until their system fails.
Usually that's what they do.
So I gotta make sure I clean that up to, not negatively impact those people that have put the system.
This.
Yeah, that's
some-
That's a huge
some of what I've been doing lately.
I know. Brandon.
One other thing, You probably remember, heard that I applied for a grant to do, put out an RFP to get construction drawings done to redo our public landing, to make the public landing more resilient. And then the storms, I was ready to put that RFP out, thankfully I didn't, and I didn't draw down any of the grants that I applied for that we received. And then the storms in January hit, so I kind of retooled my thinking and reached out to the state, and asked them, both grant programs, if I could tweak that grant to do a harbor-wide resiliency plan, rather than just looking at our public landing, because those construction drawings is what we were gonna ask for. You know, Dave's crew did a great job of making our landing much more resilient, even though it didn't come up, it withstood both of those storms in January, so. After working with the state over the course of a month, just last week, they finally okayed us to change that project in midstream. So we're going to RFP in the next 2 weeks, to hire a consultant to do a harbor-wide resiliency plan. That's going to go from, it can't be the entire outer harbor, it's just too, it's just too big, of an area. So it's going to go from the bean yard, line more of the bean yard around over to the yacht club. So we'll be looking at all of the inner harbor and some of the outer harbor, that little piece, which will include steamboat landing, bean yard, and the condo. Over to the yacht. I am also working with the yacht club on applying for a grant to the Maine Historic Preservation Commission to do an assessment of the yacht club property to see how we can make that more resilient. Meaning in essence, slightly raising the yacht club building up, or moving it. I don't think raising it up is gonna work, because if you look at the flood elevation there, based on what their finished floor elevation is, that building's gonna be way up in the air. And so likely we'll probably be looking at moving it back. One of the ideas is into the bank a little bit.
Yeah.
And then daylight, a basement of sorts, but really challenging because you gotta meet ADA and the grades aren't great, to do that, and then access for the actual numbers down, might be challenging, but it's nothing some switchbacks couldn't fix coming down off of the hill, so. But that's in the works, it's like a $30-some thousand grant, the town isn't budgeting anything for that at the present time, so.
Isn't that property reclaimed? Where the yacht club sits, isn't that reclaimed harbor? Isn't that area filled in at some point?
Most of
It's actually, what I heard from Street, and I might be getting this wrong, that there was like some sort of lime kiln, there. And that's what they built that on top of, was an old kiln, years and years, going way back, yeah.
It really seems like anything just basically east of Bayview Street is fell.
Yeah.
That's what it seems
Yeah.
like. What do we do?
Yeah. And you might be interested to know too, after January, the storm in January, and you've probably heard of the propane leak that was down below the condo units. And the propane tanks were floating, ripped off, spewing gas. I had, those propane tanks were in the parking garage below, and they were not tied down, which is a requirement in the flood zone. So Dead River has been very proactive in resolving that issue. I told them that they need to get, I got a deal with PG Willie too. I don't know what the status of all their tanks, but Dead River is looking at this proactively, and I'm meeting with them. They're gonna look at every property that they serve that's in the flood zone to make sure every one of their tanks are now anchored to prevent flotation, which is a requirement. So we just resolved the harbor.
Isn't there some way that they, like, if something happened to them, that they not spewing?
I'm sorry.
Is there some way that if something like that happened in the future, you know, they get flooded, that they would be turned off if they lose the?
An automatic shut off valve.
Yeah, that, like that. I
don't think so.
Oh.
But now those tanks are no longer in the garage below. They're actually up in the courtyard, or will be put in the courtyard. I think this week. And they've given us a plan on how they're gonna be anchored. I mean, it's not gonna flood up there, but
Yeah.
they're still in the flood zone, so they technically still need to be anchored.
Yep.
My
So,
garage
That's good.
always floods.
what's that?
It just floods all the time.
Well, yeah, that used to be a marina, that was all a marina, and there's actually still a lock system there. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen, I never saw it until I walked through there the day after the big storm, and there's this lock that's partly open, and the seawater just comes in.
People
into
don't
the-
know about it,
No, they don't.
and they put the cars down there and like.
Yeah, they do have, I was surprised, they have lots of signage, and they have like phone numbers to call about tides and weather.
Oh, put it down there.
But they're
Well,
really
yeah,
shallow.
there's information,
Right.
but sort of telling about.
It's also one of the largest outfalls that we have for this, for the
Yeah.
stormwater system.
Yeah, right,
It comes down right, it goes right through that marina,
yeah.
it comes out right there. Down Fry Street and then crosses the road, it comes out right under the,
Yeah.
where he's talking.
It was eye-opening for Dead River. When I first reached out to them, they were like, well, we just have to comply with NFPA code on gas stuff, and I said, well, no, you don't, you gotta also comply with local flood code, and then I ended up talking with the state gas inspector and tried to get him to kind of get the word out to all of the suppliers out there that you gotta do this right. And he said, no, it's not gonna happen, we don't have the bandwidth to do something like that. And I was like, well, you got an email list, it's not hard. And then after pressuring them a little more, they had a training for all the gas installers a couple weeks later, and they brought up the floodplain issue, based on me reaching out to them and pushing the issue. As I understand, all these storms, like Rockland Harbor, I heard had propane tanks just like bobbing up and down throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Same goes for the Kennebec River, they're bobbing up and down the Kennebec River. I think probably every spring the propane tanks bobbing up and down the Kennebec. So at least I think some of the propane outfits are understanding this a little more, and hopefully more talented, more proactive to deal with it.
I heard about it from Rockwell, and then I didn't understand, they said there's one in town
Mhm.
where nobody knew.
Mhm. Yeah. So.
Shenley and I, the
Right.
next thing that was on our list was, to say that we kind of went in a holding pattern with some of the shoreline zoning
Okay.
updates, and, so Shenley and I just met before this meeting, and, we're gonna meet in a couple of weeks. I sent her some stuff, she
Okay,
sent
good.
me some stuff, so with the goal that we know we're not getting anything in June, because it was
Oh, yeah.
now,
No.
like we're
Choose lot line.
that's sailed away. But the hope is that we can get at least, phase one of some.
Yeah, I will say it happens really, I know June is almost here and that's when everyone votes, but getting to November, it's like things need to be done for the most part.
By the
Hearings by the
June.
end of August.
Yeah, I
Um,
think we've got time for that.
right, but it happens so quickly, so if November doesn't work, then let's just keep it going so that we'll get, I'll do what I can, but
Yeah,
it just
but,
takes a lot sometimes.
but that we haven't forgotten, it's just kind of been,
Yeah.
shape shifted as.
One thing else I'm working on at some point is looking at redoing our flood management code. To hopefully try to get into the community rating system, and that is a federal process that, you got to exceed the minimum standards for the flood mandatory flood management code or ordinance. And then that would reduce property owners' insurance rates if the municipality adopts a more restrictive flood code, which again reduces flood insurance rates significantly. So I'm looking at doing that, and that's something like raising the base flood elevation to rebuild or build. You have to, right now it's currently 1 foot above base flood elevation for that first floor. I'd probably be looking at something like 3 feet above base flood elevation. And that's something that's going to be a heavy lift, but there's model ordinances out there already that I'm going to use. And then another thing we're looking at, planning board's been looking at, is part of the pier piece that's going to voter, hopefully going to voters, has a provision about if you're armoring your shoreline as part of a pier project, you've got to do a much more holistic review of the impacts of that armor on adjacent properties, which right now there's not a whole lot of standards to it. The board is interested in prohibiting future armoring of shorelines, unless it's necessary to, protect structure, some home or physical property. To let the ocean do what it does and is supposed to do and what it wants to do. That'll be an interesting one. I think we're moving that forward, hopefully for next November.
I heard you talking about that planning board, and I was wondering if that can be tweaked, so it's to protect building in existence before blah, blah time. So people can't just say the summer or whatever, you know, oh, we're just gonna put a big new guest house right there on the edge of the water. And then, oh, we don't have to. I mean,
it's
it's just
possible. We'll look at it.
something.
We'll look at it, yeah.
Yeah.
We do a lot of that in our code where it
Okay.
applies to if buildings in existence
Yeah, I
prior to X date, so we'll see how that works out. Yeah, that's a pretty significant one, though. I think we'd be the only municipality that does that too, that I'm aware of, that would prevent armoring. We won't be looking at doing the shoreline, it wouldn't be like lakes or the river. This is really focused on the ocean.
It has the same
Where you
effects
do
on
want-
lakes and rivers though. so
What's that?
I would look at it in a much broader sense from.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge though is you have so much, I mean, I think especially Hodgson Pond, and I know you don't have a lot of wave action in Hodgson Pond, but so much shoreline erosion can contribute to nutrient loading, you know? So I'm not sure you want to do that on the lake. I think the board would struggle doing that, on the lake. I think the ocean, where you want that sediment transport into the water. So. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think the nutrient loading, especially in Hoffer, would be a problem if you just let properties, especially when there's a state law that says you're supposed to address erosion problems. You know, so, I don't know. We'll answer on that one when the time comes.
Cool.
Anything else?
No, great work.
Question, thank you, yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. You clearly haven't been doing anything.
That's just part of it. Oh, and you might be interested in this too. I mean, the Snow Bowl, I think everyone realizes, this year has been a real bad year at the Snow Bowl. In terms of the amount of skiing and how long the season's gonna continue, and I don't envision it lasting much longer out there. I think the town needs to probably look big picture at what the Snow Bowl is and what it is going to be in the future. In that regard, we hired out the Outdoor Sports Institute to help us do some multi-use trail plans for the Snow Bowl, to really look at it from a more full season recreation area, and likely a more passive recreation area than it is now. So that's moving forward, and they have met with Holly and I. Holly is the interim director out there. She and I gave them a list of names to meet with, and he's done, Steve is his name, from OSI. He's met with them and just kind of got, I think we gave him 8 names. He asked for 6, we gave him 8. He met with all 8 people, and it's a variety of interests and users, just to kind of get their ideas. We're gonna have a open house at the Snow Bowl on April 18th. I think it's a Thursday, from 4 to 6. On April 18th, yeah, from 4 to 6. On multi-use trails, mountain biking, and the lake out there. So that's on April 18th.
A lot.
This time, I swear. You good?
Cool.
Anything else? No?
No.
Okay, I thought I'd figured it
No,
out.
it's awesome. We love this. We always learn something new. We always feel like we're making connections and, you know.
Really wish you were more productive.
Yeah, no, I know. It's exciting.
Well done. Awesome.
Oh, one more thing. Last thing, and I'm only bringing it up because it is on the select board agenda tonight. There's I don't know what'll transpire, but it's you, I'm sure heard about the herbicide, at Lake Beach, or at the adjacent properties. The town hired C.D. Mahar to do some further sampling on town property because we didn't at the time assess our property when that was all playing out. And we entered into a consent agreement with the bonds, who will apply the herbicide that impact Mrs. Gorman's property. And the violation was really about tree removal that Mrs. Gorman had to do because her trees were dying and she didn't want them there anymore and she wanted the soil gone. So there's a shoreline zoning violation in order to do all that work. The bonds paid for her to deal with all that significantly. They paid significant to Mrs. Gorman. The town entered into a consent agreement and was approved for $210,000. 30 of that was going to us to hire a firm. We hired C.V. Mahar. We worked with Steve Dyer from Ransom on the tannery. He's now with C.V. Mahar. C.V. Mahar went out there in December, put in some geoprobe wells, and did some pore water sampling, soil sampling, and groundwater sampling. And the herbicide was found at Lake Beach in soil samples, groundwater samples, and the pore water samples. Pore water is where the groundwater interfaces with surface water. And so it was at low tide, you can see water coming out of the beach, and that's groundwater. So they sampled that water, that's called pore water sampling, and PORE, and found it in all three. The state does not have any, they have standards for certain herbicides and certain contaminants. As you can imagine, EPA has them too, right? So DEP does not have a standard for this type of herbicide because it's not used in the state. I will say though that if you look at, and the report is available, I have it around, I think it's on the website. It's not exceeding EPA standards for this herbicide. So we're talking about it tonight with the select board. As far as our consent agreement with the bonds, if we found anything at Lake Beach, they're still on the hook for all of that, as part of our consent agreement. So we'll see where that goes, and what C.V. Mahar is recommending that we continue ongoing monitoring out there and actually do a risk assessment of the herbicide to come up with what, in essence, is what DEP does. Any environmental consultant does this when they find a contaminant and do a risk assessment. The state generally has them already. Since they don't have one, we're going to do one for this herbicide, and that's the plan. It's our intention to have the bonds paid for it all. We talked with the town attorney too on it, and we'll be chatting with the select board a little bit tonight about it. I don't know what's going to transpire. I'm sure there'll be a lot of venting about the issue, I guess.
I wonder if that had any impact on anything that we had growing there.
I asked the question, actually, the Board of Pesticide Control was back involved on this. The State Board of Pesticide Control will regulate application of herbicide.
Sure, it didn't help.
We don't know. Kids can't say one way or the other.
Wasn't like-
But there are, they generally lay into people that are licensed applicators if
Right.
they're doing something that is a
Right.
violation of their rules or the application standards for a certain herbicide. But when a homeowner does something, they don't really lay into those people because they're not licensed people. It's the same with plumbers, same with gas and oil installers.
They hired somebody else to do it.
They didn't hire someone. They did it themselves, and they admitted to bringing in this material from Missouri, and doing it themselves. So, we'll see.
Embarrassed enough to leave town yet?
I know,
I don't want to speak to that, but I understand they haven't been back since then, so. But that's where we are with that. Board's Pest Control, like I said, I've been communicating with them over the last week, since I got that report last Wednesday. And they were meeting with their assistant attorney general today that handles their cases. They're meeting with them this morning. It's likely that, Friday, they'll be out on site doing some more sampling, because if they're gonna bring a case against the bonds, they have to do their own sampling. And we're gonna ask, in our working with the bonds and their attorneys, they haven't gotten back in touch with me after I forwarded this, report to them to tell them that this is what's happening. We're gonna ask that, we sample their property and Mrs. Gorham's property, as well. We think we kind of know we believe we know where the mass amount of this herbicide was applied. So it's like, this is an assumption, but it's likely that there's a fair amount of it still sitting in one area. So if we don't deal with that area, it's likely that it will just continue to leach out.
What was this? Was it a spray or was it a liquid?
It's granules.
Great.
Oh, good, slow release.
Okay.
So I did ask the pesticide control board, staff person I've been working with, he's a really great guy, Alexander, if he got his name. I asked about our large oak tree, right? There's an oak tree that.
Yeah, the bag.
Yeah, I did ask, them to, if they could sample, I know there's stumps been ground.
I have pipes of that tree. I kept some of it. I got some, we're gonna be making some frames and.
Yeah, and I don't know how it works in material that's no longer live, right?
I don't know.
But it's likely that the low grade, I mean, I've done tree work in my life, so when you said I've ground stumps, you generally grind to like 6 inches below grade.
There's still stump
And then
there.
cover it. So below there's gonna be some stumps still there, and the root system's still there. So, and those things tend to live, and stay somewhat lively for a little while, so it might be that those roots are still trying to draw stuff into that stump system. I don't know, but, I asked the state if they could assess that stump to see if there was any material found in that tree. And if there was, maybe we could.
How far back did they find the contamination? Like,
I don't have it right with me, Dave. They found it in a bunch of, they actually found it, one of those places, there's a culvert,
Yeah,
or there's a catch basin and a culvert.
yeah,
They
it goes right
found-
down the middle.
They found it right in both of those areas.
That's far ways away from well, whatever. You guys are looking at doing something over there and I'm like, oh, maybe we should wait till we find out what's going on over there.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, the levels were low. I mean, it wasn't like it was through the roof.
No,
With the herbicide, it wasn't through the roof.
They're gonna be planting all these wonderful things and nothing's gonna grow and they're gonna be like, what's going
I
on?
mean, from my perspective, what I have told the town attorney and the select board in the past, and we'll tell them tonight, I see it as a trespass. Even if the limit is at the very bottom, it's no, even if we find out that after doing a risk assessment, there is no risk to humans or the environment, it's still there. And it's our property and we don't want herbicide on our property.
Right.
At any limit, especially because we have a policy that we don't apply.
We can't even put pesticides.
We can't put pesticide on our property, so, so we're gonna look at it from the perspective of it, there should be none on our property, and the reality in trying to remediate that site is gonna be very, very, very hard to do.
Was the settlement with the two people public knowledge or is that not? No.
No, I think I included it in a select board packet though, maybe.
Yeah. It was a lot of money, right?
Yeah, it was,
It was listed in the paper.
yeah, I mean, it was over $1 million they paid this for.
Yeah. That's a lot of.
Their insurance company picked up half of it.
Jeez.
Yeah, insurance.
My insurance company would cut me off.
I was gonna say,
They'd say you're done.
how can your insurance company cover malicious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You all have provider for that.
You used the word, you were gonna consider it a trespass, does that mean a criminal?
What you spend on.
Hey, I'm not going there, I know, I think there are certain folks that are looking at that, perspective, but, generally, in my understanding, I'm not aware that trespass like that's not criminal.
Criminal.
And like if I go on your property and I'm trespassing and you ask me to leave, and I don't leave, the police would come and tell me to leave, and if I still don't leave, they're not gonna arrest me for trespassing, they're gonna arrest me for violating, a police order to leave.
Yeah, okay.
So generally, those things are really civil matters, so not criminal, but I'm not,
Okay.
I think some people are gonna be reaching out to other, legal entities to see if they would bring any case again.
Is there any, like, I don't know, like, as a person who goes to Lake Beach, should we not be swimming, or should we not, I mean, I feel unaware of like what the.
Yeah, so.
I feel like the water quality already is a bad enough issue. About swimming.
I mean, I think there's a difference though. I mean, I don't know, I mean, if we've got E. coli or bacteria in the water from sewer or septic or whatever, I think that's a different thing than
Yeah, it's a different.
than alligator or to brew through ion, whatever the herbicide is. It's a different animal.
Chemical versus a bio.
Right, and it does not, it does not exceed EPA standards, for safe to the environment, so that's what I would say. But I think we all, at least I'm very skeptical of US government standards for these types of things. I mean, look at what we allow in food, and the EU doesn't allow things in food, and we, so I think because EPA says it's okay, to me, doesn't necessarily mean anything.
You bought it with aerial spray for years and years, and it was just what you're saying, it was very.
Mhm. Right. Right. So we're gonna do the best we can. I mean, Stephen Mahar is gonna be back out there doing some more sampling, for us, like a routine sampling to monitor over time. And then they're gonna give us a plan, once we have more idea, on where it is. And the quantity, then we'll figure out what we can do or should do, or maybe not be able to do. Hard to say. There's a lot of ledge there. And some of this stuff, I think, gets into the rock, and then leaves the rock at some point. So it's not easy to remediate rock. So I've talked to consultants, and you can pump certain reagents into rock, and it can, neutralize contaminants. But that's a whole other thing. It's not like soil that you can haul away, like the bonds, like Mrs. Foreman did. So I'm concerned about Mrs. Gorman's property. I talked to her, those folks there, because we found it on ours. They cleaned up their site. Is it back on your site? So I think they're gonna be looking at it again. Yeah, that's all.
What time is the select board meeting tonight?
What's that?
What time's the meeting tonight?
6:30, and it's on Zoom too, so if you want to zoom in and comment on anything, feel free. The more people we have to comment on the CDBG grant application, the better. So you could just shoot me an email if you want, and I can read it into the record, whatever you like. Okay,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
glad I stopped it.
Yeah, so are we.
Yeah.
So I think, that's a great update.
That's fantastic. We are so lucky to have him.
I know. So I think we're gonna jump to, Sam and the website update, or even if it's 2 seconds, and,
Yeah, well, so I got some information from, I think you might have been the person who, submitted the most materials, thank you. If anyone has any other, I mean, I'm just like hearing, Jenny just had so many things to say, I'm like, oh, people will be really interested in that, like what, anyway. So that's a work in progress, and then, we will need to meet and, I guess just work on a wireframe, or maybe just go straight to Janice and give her the most amount of updates that we can at once. I think that's probably the best.
Yeah, it would be good to get together again, Sam, and go through that. I think I've been derelict in my,
No, you're fine.
well, but we need to just put it in a framework. I think we've come to the conclusion that we we can't construct the website, right? It needs to be done.
We have no control.
Yeah, so.
Think of it as content and like you said, the
The wiring
framing, like.
diagram and,
The content.
Yeah,
I think so, it's great ideas on content, it's just kind of put it on the meat, put some meat on the bones, right?
I'm also interested in what he was just talking about, like, you know, like short-term rentals and pure moratorium from a conservation perspective is not something I would have thought of, and that was very interesting, and I assume it would be interesting to other people, so.
Building a website.
No, we have a page on the town website, and we're.
Someone at the Camden Can thing, they said our students work on that for businesses and they do it for free, so I think maybe that person could help you.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's. We don't have a lot of access to the page. Basically, we're not allowed to update it directly, which is fine, there are good reasons for that. In terms of like, you can't just hand out the town password for the website, anyone can hack in there and just do and say whatever they want, and that makes sense. But I Yeah, so anyway, it's ongoing, and maybe we'll have something to show you next, in April.
But it's nice that we can take all of the work
Yes.
that's been done in the last couple of years since the Conservation Commission reignited, if you will. It kind of was in a simmer to no point for a few years and flame out, you know, so it'll be nice so that, you know, people who are plugging in and tuning in and checking in every now and then, well, like you guys probably would have been like, oh, look, they really do have some information, or look what's happening, but we didn't, so here you are. Thanks. So it all worked out. So no, it's really much appreciated, so it'll be good to have this kind of,
Yeah.
the website evolve along with some of these projects and programs that we've got going on.
Right, so if there are specific like content pieces that you want to include, I would say send that to me as soon as possible. So that we
Did I send you something? You did something.
I don't remember.
Definitely.
You might have.
I think once they do the survey of the trees to align with the current walking map, I think if we could get that up on the website, that would be a really cool resource to have.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Available electronically for people.
And what's helpful is to, especially since I'm still pretty new to the commission, like, help me understand what happened. So that's why I was saying headlines. So if it's like, you know, shade trees planted, or like 46 trees planted last year, like, help me understand like what happened. That way I can plunk it in and not follow up with 10,000 questions. That'd be awesome. So, yeah, that's my update.
Awesome.
I think there's some information.
So I think, in the interest of time, we are not gonna actually go through our action items list and sort of like schedule or replan or anything, just to acknowledge it as a work in progress, and that these are the things that we are actively working on. And then I would like to, however, try to get a couple of dates, times this afternoon. One thing Allison said when she emailed me or us, that said she couldn't attend today's meeting, but she was more than happy, as she has been, to do a more detailed training, whether it was 15 minutes or an hour, whatever it needed to be, but kind of during the week, more or less schoolish, you know, school times hours. And anytime this week or the next couple of weeks, but in the shorter end of things, so that we can get out and start, dividing and conquering some of these.
Can I throw out today? Just to-
Yeah, absolutely. No, because we
Try
like.
from Monday to 11th.
What is that?
Monday the 11th, week from next Monday, this upcoming Monday.
That works for me.
What time?
Well, we have to check with Allison, but I just figured we'll throw something like that, because I know she has a select board tonight, and tomorrow's gonna be really bad weather, and
I think I can do the afternoon, like early morning. I'm just like, I have this terrible block of meetings. It's
It's a great way to start your week.
Evil block of meetings every Monday. It's like, I would love to.
maybe after lunch, like 1 or 2 or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I would have to.
Do you want to check with Allison, Rebecca?
Yep. Will do. Awesome. And the only other business that I had that I didn't put on the agenda, because I had the, middle of the night, oh, I forgot that thing. Is, remember way back, had talked about meeting, we talked actively about meeting with the other conservation commissions, and so it kind of circled all around, and other conservation commissions were having the same conversation, and so this whole group of bear with me, Knox County Coastal Conservation Commissions. That's sort of how it just landed. It's Thomaston, South Thomaston, Owl's Head, St. George, Rockport, Camden, and if I'm missing one, they have to forget Rockland. They have to forget me there. So I think I did actually get them all. We have been meeting for about a year and a half, off and on, like every couple of months, every quarter. And actively working on sharing information and kind of cross-pollinating. And one thing that is moving forward is the dark sky. So this is like a tangential conservation piece, but it was one that was kind of a fun outlier that we thought we'd share. And so the Opera House our Opera House looks like it's gonna be the site for the dark sky documentary.
Oh, okay.
And then we're gonna use the annex rooms building with the other rooms upstairs for sharing some upcoming events and books and other information and best practices and why, sort of why the dark skies or why solar versus this and how do you get your solar to turn off because you don't want it to be on all night either. And, so there's all these sort of things that are happening. But, so we're moving forward on that and, but it's been really helpful to hear what priorities are with the other groups. I think I really want to make sure I share the solar program that's coming up, that's happening here in Camden, because they are very keen on that work as well, and they did some solar, like a drop-in, like a little drive around, sort of like the garden tour, but it was like a solar tour, and you can see different, on building panels and off building panels, et cetera, down on the St. George Peninsula. So it was something then that was kind of the pilot, and did we want to bring it up to this area? So maybe generate some interest from that, because it might lend itself to a spring, fall. On the ground tour. But they would help to share that information and even do the outreach.
Yeah, I think people will be very interested in next Wednesday night.
Yeah, so I will get that from you again.
I mean, I put a lot of things together, just like what's your CMP bill gonna look like? What tools do they have available to better understand? All these things, I had no idea what to expect, what can you expect? It's a lot, it's not just about the install, it's about what's good, what happens next and how you do it and what's involved. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, so I apologize if I've been somewhat negligent, but I am sharing what we're doing and I'm sort of circling back. But this particular dark sky program is sort of the first group effort to get something out into the public. So it looks like June, maybe July at the latest, we'll be doing a program here in Camden, and then we'll piggyback a couple other programs sort of within the Knox County coastline, to do like a walk and talk, the night sky, moonlight walk, and some other activities. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, and at 2:28. Unless there's other business.
I have a quick fun fact.
Oh, fun fact. Ooh.
We put a marine aquarium into the Camden Regional Middle School
Oh.
last week with critters from the harbor.
Yep.
So it's really cool. So we'll see how that works out.
What is it?
A marine aquarium, it's got hermit crabs, starfish, little fish, all kinds of stuff.
Where did you put it exactly?
It's in the cafeteria at the Camden Regional Middle School.
Middle school.
Yep. Mhm.
Oh.
So the kids seem to
Yeah.
really get into it, although there's some concern about the boys sticking their hands in it.
Just the boys?
I told them, I'm gonna put electric eel in it, so.
Which would actually entice them more probably.
Yeah.
So,
So,
all right.
It's really
All
good.
right, well, everybody, I appreciate your time and your effort and energy, and we'll be in touch by email, and I'm both about the March 11th stormwater app training and some of these upcoming things, and I'll mail you a copy, we'll come back, and I'll email you copies after I get your email of the, action items and the other things that are happening. Samantha, thanks for joining us as usual.
Let's say,
Logging off now.
Samantha, I can't open your,
She left.
Uh,
I have to.